Wiring. Why does this have to stress me out so bad? Well, friends, it's been a few days. I was working on the wiring of the 1948 WL, and obviously I got an entire kit. That kit came with some instructions, and they were actually kind of poor. They're okay quality. They do have some, good information on here, and it does kind of tell you some stuff, and it gives you, what should kind of go where. But with the wiring kit that I got, there was a lot of wires, and none of it was labeled, so I didn't really know where any of it went. And this bike didn't really come with wiring. There was wiring in the tail section here, and I do have the dash, and the dash has some of the wiring on it, but none of it's stock. So I have no reference points. I've never built one of these, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to figure it out. Anyway, I took some time, I did some research, and I came up with a diagram. And this thing is awesome. So this diagram is actually from May 27th, 1946. And it shows you everything in a better description here on how to wire this bike. Now, this is similar to what I had here, but in a larger format, and I can see it better. Also, in the research that I did, I was able to find this wiring kit and it being used and where everything went. So I went ahead and labeled everything. I'm going to pull everything out of the box and show you what I've got. So obviously this is some of the wiring, and if you're looking at this, I'll run you through what these pieces are. So if you're building one of these and you order one of these kits, you know where everything goes. Now, if you started with a bike and you have the wires to pull out, sure, you can follow that diagram. You know what you're doing because you have what you need. Or if you've done this enough, or if it makes sense in your mind, then maybe it's easy for you. For me, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is new, so I'm figuring it out. Anyway, let's go through what I have for wires. All right, let's take a minute and run through wiring and what I have labeled here and give you some insight as to what I've got, and hopefully this helps you. We'll start here with this wire. This is a 3-wire setup. It's a green, a red, and a black. It has 3 small ends, 3 90-degree ends. The green wire is shorter than the red and the black wire. This is for your generator. Next up, we have a 2-wire. This is a black and a red. This one has a little sheath on it. It's very long. This is for your rear light. These, I believe, are equal lengths. They might be, I take that back. They are not. The black is quite a bit shorter than the red, as you can see, but this is for your tail light. We have another 3-wire. These ones are green, red, and black again. These are equal length wires. They have the small ends on one end and the 90-degree on the other end. This is your headlight wiring. Now we have a 4-wire setup. This is 2 green, red, and black. Obviously 1 90-degree end, 3 of these small ends, and then on the opposite end, there are 3 90-degree ends and 1 of the small ends. And as you can see, the green wire comes out of the main sheath here. The green wire is out of the main sheath. I have the secondary sheath holding everything together. This is your main harness. This is the one that runs from the dash. Next, you have a black wire. It has a 90-degree end and a small end. This is from your timer itself. Then you have a loom of black wires. It's 2 black wires. This is for your front marker light if you're running one, and a horn. I'm not running either, so I will not be using these. Next, you have a green wire that's bare on one end, has a 90-degree on the other end. This is your coil to brake light switch. And then you have another set of 3 wires here. There are 2 red and a black. Obviously, as you can see, they're shorter red wire. The black and the red are about the same length. This is your handlebar wiring. And then also this kit came with other terminal ends. I do have those. And the last 2 wires that I have, the green wire, I have no idea what that goes to. And the red wire is my positive battery cable wire. There's both 90-degree ends on those. And of course the green wire, same 90-degree ends on those. And that leaves me with, I need a ground wire. So somewhere in this kit, I need to figure out how to ground this thing, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on what all those wires mean. I do have an idea of where they go, so I'm going to work on that. This is also that I've read online. So unfortunately, you read these things and I don't have a visual interpretation of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the tail section here. We're going to start fishing wires around and kind of like figuring out where they go. While we're on the left-hand side of the bike, looking at the rear fender, right underneath this frame rail here, there's a hole in the fender. That's where my finger's at. This is the wiring channel that goes to the rear tail light. So I'm going to take my loom here that has the 2 wires in it, and I'm going to start fishing those into the tail section. Hopefully they'll feed through nicely. I believe there's enough wire here for extra room in case I have to cut the ends of these off or shorten them for any reason. Okay, got the wiring ran through the rear fender. One of the tips I'll give you, sometimes you're going to run into issues with these things. This had, old tape in it. This had whatever wiring was put in there at whatever point in time, and none of that was proper. So this tape was shoved in there, unfortunately. I tried to fish out as much as possible, but I had this piece, and this piece, and that piece, and there was one more, right here. So those things were kind of in this channel. Obviously this channel is enclosed, so there's no good way to get through there. What I have is I have a lot of these old cables laying around, and these are things that are broken. This is an old clutch cable, as you can see. It gives you a nice end to pull on. And what I did is I actually kind of ran this through this channel a few times. I did have to bend the back part here a little bit because it wasn't right anyway. It was already bent anyway. And where it curves from the hinge portion here into the channel here, this was already bent and it didn't align with the channel, so I was running into the channel side of it and it wasn't working. I could fish this through, but then of course I was running into that bend on this way and I couldn't get my finger in there enough to be able to fish this line out. So ultimately what I did was I pushed it in here after bending it down, fished it through, got it to this end, taped the wires to the end of this, and then pulled everything through. And then once I had everything through, I went into the tail section here, and this has a channel in there as well. And that was full of like dirt daubers and just, I don't even know, mud. It looked like sand coming out of there. So I ran that through a couple times and essentially opened up that channel, which allowed me to have my 2 wires exposed. Now I have the rear tail section buttoned up. Next, I'm going to focus on the main wiring. I'm just going to lay this in place for now. I don't have the right connectors. I'm missing some hardware, so I need to, kind of deal with that. Unfortunately, I don't have it here today. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this up here. I'm going to kind of temporarily figure out where everything is going. And I know a lot of this stuff is going to get moved around. So that's there. And then I do have my dash panel to put on top, but I don't want to install that just yet. I do have a speedometer. I have to figure out which one I'm going to run. I do have the stock one. I'd like to see if that would run. I do need the pin kit for that. I don't have that either. So the dash would go here, obviously. And then from there, I would have my dash cover and my speedometer installed. I believe the switch works. It does turn, and it feels like it makes really good contact. It is the stock switch. It's an OEM, so I feel that this is good. So I'm going to keep this if I can. The lighting on this, I'm not sure if it'll ever work. It's not in the best shape. Obviously, you can see that the wires here are really rough, and I don't intend on hooking them up, so I'm going to leave those undone for now. I think I'm actually going to install the dash temporarily because I'm not sure if this requires a spacer underneath here. I feel like there should be a spacer to get this dash to sit a little more level, and without it, it's not going to fit right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook it up. I'm going to see how it sits. I'm going to put my dash cover on just to get some visual looks at it and see if it's right. I don't think it is. Sticking with the theme of this black bike, I have a black dash. This also came with a chrome dash, but I'm opting to run this one since it does match really well. I don't have a speedometer sitting in place right now, but I'm just kind of trying to test fit everything just to see how it's going to look. I have the dash temporarily on here. Obviously, it's not tightened down all the way, and I'm looking at the gap here, and I'm not sure if the gasket is actually that thick that goes on there or not. Or maybe I have the incorrect dash base. That's a good possibility too, so I may look into that as well. I don't feel like this is fitting the way that it should, and I even put on the other dash cover that I have, and still it fits the same way. Again, I'm not really sure if that's the way it's supposed to be or not. All right, so we're getting closer on the wiring. I've got pretty much everything in its right spot. I have all of the correct hardware mounted and everything is pretty much tied in where it needs to be. I believe I do need to put my tail light on yet, so that's something I need to work on. As far as everything goes with the connectors, everything is connected. I do have my positive lead in the battery box. I need to hook my negative up. I do want to put a fuse on the positive just in case. I am going to run an anti-gravity battery, so I do want to put a fuse on there. My coil is mounted. I have my generator mounted, my regulator mounted. All of my dash wiring is done. I did end up buying these replacement plastic lights for the dash because unfortunately the lights that were in here were just mangled and ruined and rusted. All the wiring was shot and everything had fallen apart. The bottoms of the cups were gone. There was no salvaging them, so I did go ahead and just replace them. One of the things I'm doing too is I'm running a single red wire to the switch on the bottom here. Excuse me, not a red wire, it's a black and red wire. So that's hooked up to the switch terminal here. So when I hit the first position there, that should turn on the lights and hooks to the switch. And then from the switch, it runs to the headlight itself. And I hope that that will work. I believe I have enough play here to be able to turn the handlebars far enough. So I do need to check that fitment. But as far as it goes, I do believe I have all of my wiring in place properly. Hopefully I've got it right. There is some good documentation online. I was able to get a few different diagrams, a couple different things that I've downloaded. I did reach out to a couple of forum members and ask them about different wiring options and what they were running, and I've come to this conclusion here. Now I am running some plastic zip ties just to hold everything in place. Now I know they don't look great, but I didn't want the wires dangling, and I wasn't sure what else to do, so I did choose to run zip ties. So I've got a couple here on this side. I've got a couple that would be covered here, and then I do have one that's underneath here holding everything together. It's actually right there. So you probably can't see it. Maybe you can see it in there, but it's hidden pretty well. I don't know what it is about wiring, but it stresses me out. Maybe it's because I don't understand it fully or because I haven't done enough of it. When it comes to like house wiring and running circuits and whatnot, it's pretty easy to me. I can do that type of stuff. But when it comes to motorcycle wiring, I get super stressed out. I overthink it like crazy and I end up taking way too long. This project now has taken me a couple of weeks, unfortunately. Now, in that couple of weeks, I was missing some hardware, so I had to order things and get the right parts in too. So there was some back and forth on waiting for things, screw terminals and wire ends and things like that that I did not have. I also wanted to get the battery, so I've ordered the battery. I do have, like I said, a little anti-gravity battery that we'll be putting in the battery box. I had to make my battery box fit because it was in really bad shape, and I had to bend it back out and get it in the right proper shape so it would fit in its proper location. Next, we'll be putting the battery in and then doing initial testing, and I hope that that goes well. I do need to get my fusible link put in there, so I do have a fuse running from the battery to the main circuit here before I start testing anything, just in case. And I don't want this thing to go up in flames. Now, I understand that this didn't have a fuse back in the day, but it is running a 12-volt system now, and I want to go ahead and fuse this thing just in case. And because I'm running an anti-gravity battery, I know those things run a very consistent power, and I don't want to have any accidents, I don't want to have any mishaps, and I don't want this bike to, go up in flames. Well, friends, I know this video jumped around a whole lot, and it probably wasn't super helpful. Hopefully some of it was. If it wasn't, I apologize. If you have questions, please feel free to drop them in that comment section below. I will do my best to answer what I've done on this bike and how I've made it all come together. Well, friends, if you did like the video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate that feedback. If you haven't subscribed to that channel yet, hit that subscribe button. This bike is coming along, and I want to have it done shortly. I'm hoping to actually get it buttoned up pretty soon and start this thing. I'd like to do a couple of rides on it this year before it gets too cold and before I have to put it away, so hopefully I have time to do that. And if you're not subscribed, you'll miss out on those details. Well, guys, that's it for this one. I hope to catch you next time.